McDonald's, it's probably the most famous fast food chain in history. Every single day, more than 70 million people walk through the doors of one of its restaurants. No matter where you are in the world, chances are there's a McDonald's just a few minutes away. From children to adults, from students to billionaires, almost everyone has eaten there at least once. Yet the more I researched this company, the more one question kept coming back to my mind. How did a simple restaurant conquer the world? How did two ordinary brothers, starting with nothing more than a small restaurant in California, create an idea so powerful that it now operates in more than 100 countries? And more importantly, how did that idea become an empire worth well over $100 billion? Because what most people don't realize is that the story of McDonald's isn't just the story of a company. It's a story of vision, innovation, ambition, betrayal, and one of the greatest business opportunities ever seized. As T.S. Eliot once wrote, "In my beginning is my end, and in my end is my beginning." And to understand how McDonald's conquered the planet, we first have to go back to where it all began. It all started in 1940 in the small town of San Bernardino, California. At the time, Richard and Morris McDonald weren't famous entrepreneurs. They weren't wealthy businessmen. They simply owned a modest restaurant just like thousands of others across America. Customers would sit down, place their orders with a waiter, wait several minutes for their food, and then leave. There was nothing unusual about it. But the two brothers quickly noticed a problem that almost nobody else seemed to see. The larger their menu became, the slower the kitchen operated. The slower the kitchen became, the longer customers had to wait, and the longer customers waited, the more likely they were to leave and eat somewhere else. Instead of accepting the problem, Richard and Morris questioned everything. For weeks, they carefully studied every order, every expense, every movement inside the kitchen, and every second wasted during preparation. Eventually, one conclusion became impossible to ignore. Almost all of their profits came from just a handful of products: hamburgers, fries, and soft drinks. Everything else only slowed the business down without adding much value. So they made a decision that sounded completely insane. They shut the entire restaurant down. For months, Richard and Morris rebuilt the business from the ground up. They even used chalk to draw the exact position of every employee on the ground, moving equipment over and over again until every movement was as efficient as possible. Every step was measured, every action was timed, every second mattered. When the restaurant finally reopened, nothing looked the same. The menu had been reduced to only a few items. Waiters were gone. Customers now ordered directly at the counter. Inside the kitchen, every employee performed one single task over and over again with assembly line precision. One grilled the patties, another prepared the fries, another assembled the burgers, another wrapped them. The brothers called this revolutionary process the Speedee System. The results were extraordinary. Meals were served in seconds instead of minutes. Costs dropped dramatically. Mistakes became incredibly rare. Most importantly, every customer received the exact same burger with the exact same taste every single time. Without even realizing it, Richard and Morris McDonald had just laid the foundation for the modern fast food industry. Long lines began forming outside the restaurant. Competitors started paying attention. And among everyone who walked through those doors, one man saw something nobody else could see. While everyone else saw an incredibly efficient restaurant, Ray Kroc saw an empire. In 1954, Ray Kroc was a 52-year-old salesman. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't famous. For most of his life, he had bounced from one job to another, selling paper cups, playing piano in bars, and eventually becoming a salesman for milkshake machines. His life was nothing like the success stories we hear today. But sometimes, all it takes is one opportunity to change everything. One day, Ray noticed that a small restaurant in California had ordered not one but several of his milkshake machines at the same time. Curious, he decided to travel to San Bernardino to see what was happening. He expected to find a busy restaurant. Instead, he discovered something that would completely change the course of his life, and eventually the entire fast food industry. The moment Ray Kroc stepped inside, he knew he was looking at something extraordinary. Customers were being served in a matter of seconds. Employees moved with almost mechanical precision. Nobody looked confused. Nobody wasted time. Every burger looked exactly like the one before it. The fries came out the same way every single time. Everything was organized with a level of efficiency Ray had never witnessed before. While most people would have simply admired a successful restaurant, Ray immediately understood something much bigger. The real product wasn't the hamburger. The real product was the system. If this process could work in one restaurant, then there was no reason it couldn't work in hundreds, or even thousands. At that exact moment, Ray Kroc stopped thinking like a salesman. He started thinking like the man who could build one of the biggest business empires the world had ever seen. Over the following weeks, Ray spent countless hours with Richard and Morris McDonald, studying every detail of their operation. The more he learned, the more convinced he became that they were sitting on a goldmine without even realizing it. Eventually, he convinced the brothers to let him expand McDonald's through franchising. On paper, the partnership looked perfect. Richard and Morris would continue improving the restaurant they had created, while Ray would introduce the McDonald's system to cities across America. But it didn't take long for serious disagreements to appear. The McDonald brothers believed in growing slowly. They wanted complete control over quality and refused to expand faster than they could manage. Ray Kroc believed the exact opposite. Every day without opening a new restaurant was, in his eyes, a missed opportunity. While the brothers were trying to protect what they had built, Ray was already imagining thousands of golden arches stretching across the country, and eventually, across the entire world. As the years passed, those different visions became impossible to reconcile. Meetings turned into arguments, decisions were delayed, frustration grew on both sides. Ray felt the brothers were holding the company back, while Richard and Morris feared they were losing control of the business they had created with their own hands. What had started as a promising partnership slowly turned into a battle over the future of McDonald's. And then, Ray Kroc made a decision that would change business history forever. It was the decision that would make him the face of McDonald's, while the two brothers who had invented the entire system would slowly fade into the background. From that moment on, the question was no longer whether McDonald's would become a success. The only question left was, who would end up owning the empire?